talking about an inch to an inch and a half, as indicated by the darker greens. So we have seen some rather impressive rainfall totals with this. But again, this continues to work its way off to the north and to the east, losing a lot of its structure as it's doing so. So again, this tornado warning does go until 5 p.m. I would not be shocked if this is allowed to expire a little early, as we're starting to lose a lot of evidence that there could be something on the ground. Although when this was issued, that was a different story. This continues to head off to the north and east. And there we go. A lot of that has just been canceled. So we have a very small tornado warning that is now left. That's including the Dawson area. And what we'll do is just continue to show this until the tornado warning is allowed to expire. Then we'll return to our normal broadcast here on CBS. But again, this is a thunderstorm that has shown signs at times of potentially producing a tornado. And we were talking about this as far as the risk for severe weather, that this was going to be a possibility. And we were talking about that yesterday. We were talking about that this morning as well, despite the heavy rain chances, that there is some instability out there. So again, this is continuing to work its way to the north and to the east, about like so, kind of following that arrow there that has some information with it. And again, there we go, if we could get that to pop up. So this is going to be toward the Grassy Meadows area by 4:45. Lawn, how ironic is it that there's a Grassy Meadows and a lawn right beside each other, right? Lawn at 4:47, Dawson by 4:51, so right on your doorstep there in the community of Dawson. Hickory Grove by 4:53, Vale at 4:55, and then as we head into the 5 o'clock time frame, that's when this starts to really cross Route 60. So that's when we're starting to talk about Clintonville at 5:11, Crawley by 5:12. Crawley is just up to the north of Route 60 there in Greenbrier County. Not showing a lot of signs of hail. Our in-house product indicating a 30% chance of hail. Not really seeing a huge signature with that. And this storm continuing to head off to the northeast at 18 miles an hour. So that's what is allowing that heavy rainfall to be taking place here. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and pop that off. I'm glad I have good fingers. That's hard to press on here. But again, heading off to the north and to the east, we'll put this into motion once again so you can see kind of the evolution of this thunderstorm as it's worked its way through Summers County. And we'll zoom pan the radar a little farther up to the north, because this will eventually head up toward the Crawley and Cornstalk areas. I don't think this tornado warning at this juncture is going to be extended. In fact, I think if anything, this will be allowed to be canceled early. A lot of cloud-to-ground lightning with this thunderstorm. We've been seeing that. I woke up this morning, and man, it was thundering like crazy in Beckley. There was some cloud-to-ground strikes. Meteorologist Bradley Wells was tracking those this morning, and we're still seeing the lightning taking place here this afternoon. And we'll pause this for a moment. Let's take a look. We're going to zoom in just a bit more and see if we can see any structure here within this storm across parts of Summers and the Dawson area. There we go, moving up to the north and east. So actually, this storm, if there is a tornado, would likely now be northeast of the Dawson area. So we'll put the velocity into check. Yeah, this is not really checking the boxes here as far as that rotation is concerned. This is very broad rotation. And of course, when we think about this, you have to think about the location of the radar. So we're looking at the Roanoke radar in Virginia. So where you see the red bars, the red parcels, that is wind that is moving away from the radar. So like so. So the wind is moving away from the radar toward Dawson in red. Where you see the little green here, we see a little bit there in Dawson, it's not much. That's where the wind is moving toward the radar in Roanoke. And so when you see those two come together, especially when they're really tight, that's when we have to start worrying about tornadoes. So if we go back, I'm going to take those arrows off. We go back and watch this, and a little hard to see here, but back up to the north and west, when this was across portions of Summers County, this was a lot tighter, as it was just to the south of the Green Sulphur Springs area. Now scooting its way up to the north and to the east, we're seeing that this is not the case any longer. I don't think anybody's complaining about that here at this juncture. But again, we'll take a look at some other products here. The Barron Triple Threat, well, looks like I lost it, but we'll take a look at the Barron Triple Threat, and as we do so, you'll see that there's really not too much in the way of evidence of anything as far as a tornado is concerned here at this point. That's good. And again, regardless of whether there is a tornado or not, we could have some damaging wind gusts with this. As this continues to head off to the north and to the east at about 18 miles an hour. So we zoom back out here just for a brief moment, and we take a look at the Barron triple threat, and you'll see that we do have, perhaps where you see the purple, some small hail is possible here as we take a look and kind of dissect the storm, perhaps as big as half-inch diameter. I'm not really sold on that. But what I'm going to do is we'll put the lapse increment back to about 1 minute so you can really get an idea of how this storm has progressed over the last few minutes since we've been on air talking about this tornado warning. And what you'll notice is that the storm is starting to weaken. So that's why they allowed some of that tornado warning to expire. And that was as the storm was exiting the area in parts of Summers County. And again, now we're seeing that we are seeing a little less in the way of activity in terms of that rotation. And that is certainly good for folks that are watching this that are north and east of the storm. If we could, let's go back to links 2 for just a bit here. We'll kind of toggle in between the two. Wanted to talk about the tornado threat here for today. It's not a big risk, but it is a 2% risk. Now, what does that mean? It means there is a 2% risk of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a single point. So let's say you're in Hinton. If you're in the green area, there's a 2% chance that you would see a tornado within 25 miles of Hinton. It's a pretty low risk overall, and despite that, we have that tornado threat, and that's why we've been kind of talking about that here over the last day or so, the bit of wind shear that's been present in the area. I want to look at the cameras once again. Man, it is dark once again out toward Gent, for sure. That has been an area that has seen those scattered showers and thunderstorms. The real concern here as we head into tonight as well as through Thursday and then into Friday is the risk for heavy rainfall. We've already been seeing heavy rainfall in some spots, and we're looking at potentially at least a couple more inches in some of our southern counties before this is all said and done. But again, where we haven't seen any rain or much of it here this afternoon, especially over the Greenbrier River Valley, that's where we are talking about the risk for severe weather. We're not expecting it in our western counties because it's been raining all afternoon. And I know we've got folks out in McDowell and Wyoming counties, and they're like, man, what kind of severe weather are you talking about? It's just plain old wet out there. It's farther to the east where we are talking about that issue here as we head into the next few hours. This is not going to be something that continues all evening. This is just about another couple hour window. We were tracking this thunderstorm very closely as it worked its way through Mercer County. And again, once it got into parts of Summers County, showed some more signs of rotation, and that is why that tornado warning was issued by the National Weather Service out of Blacksburg. So again, if there is any kind of damage, you would be wanting to watch for tornado damage scattered in all directions. This would not be something you want to see where the trees are all down to one side. That is an evidence of straight line wind damage. If you guys remember the June 29th, 2012 derecho, that's an example of where we had straight line winds. And boy, did we have a lot of it. Thankfully, we haven't had to really deal with anything too bad on that front. I guess that's one positive out of the drought is that we haven't had any severe weather hardly here this summer. Unfortunately, we're seeing rain today, and we have seen at least a couple of instances of severe weather here this afternoon. Want to switch back over to Links 1 if we can get the latest on what's going on across the area in question here with our tornado warning. It's this small area that is still under warning. This is going to be allowed to expire, I think, here shortly. But this tornado warning continues until 5 o'clock. The focus of the storm now is a little farther up to the north here across portions of Greenbrier County. And at this juncture is not really showing a lot of signs of rotation either. But again, we're going to stay on here until this tornado warning is expired to ensure your safety. And this is going to continue to head into deeper portions of Greenbrier County. So this would be up toward Crawley as well as Cornstalk. You can kind of see the arrow. I'm going to pause this once again so that we can see some of the data coming from this storm with our in-house product. So this is going to be over towards Smoot right now, Meadow Bluff at 457, Clintonville by 503, Crawley at 503 also, Kiefer by 507, Rockcliffe at 510, Huggard at 511, and then there's Cornstalk, one of the bigger towns there showing up on the list. That would be by 518. Showing signs of weakening, though, as it continues to march up to the north and east. Could be cycling a bit here. That's what we've been seeing this afternoon with this thunderstorm as it does continue to head to the north and to the east, moving at about 20 miles per hour. We were talking about some of the rainfall totals earlier with this. What I'll do is kind of close this and so that you could see what I was talking about here as far as the rainfall totals are concerned. Yeah, you see the greens, that's where we've got that half inch quickly over the last hour or so, and that's enough to definitely cause some ponding on the roads. Be careful driving if you do plan on being out and about this evening, whether you're on I-64 or the Turnpike or just a side road. There's going to be a lot of rain that has laid down, a lot of water laying on the area roadways, and then on top of that, we also have a lot of leaves that are starting to come down. And that will really kind of come to a head here Friday as the remnants of Helene works their way into the region. Likely some gusty winds. We could have some 30 to 40 mile per hour winds to talk about with that. But let's go back to the radar here. We're kind of going to keep switching back and forth. Still some rotation. That is some strong winds. But this storm now is away from the tornado warning. So we'll see if anything new gets issued while we wait on this one to expire. But that is the storm in question here that is working its way off to the east, and again continuing to do so, the northeast I should say, at about 20 miles per hour, not showing so much in the way of signs of rotation like what we were seeing just a short while ago, so no complaints there. And let's see, yeah, still watching to see if they're going to issue any new messaging in regards, and there we go, new tornado warning. So we have a new tornado warning that has been issued for Greenbrier County. We are going to be staying on here, and that's a new tornado warning. That's going to go until 5:30. So according to the National Weather Service, at 4:52. So that was just a couple of minutes ago. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was near Meadow Bluff and heading to the northeast at 15 miles an hour. So we are going to stay on here and track this thunderstorm. It is looking like it's showing some signs of cycling here now as it does approach Route 60. So let's go back here. We'll take a look at the latest scans with our Storm Tracker 59 HD Dual Live Doppler radar. And again, that is a tornado warning that is going until 5:30 now for central portions of Greenbrier County. This warning is being allowed to expire in Dawson, so we don't have to worry in Dawson any longer. Yes, the polygon is still showing up on there, but they are allowing that to expire. This is the area of concern now, and we were talking just a few minutes ago about how we look at the rotation of these thunderstorms, right? So basically what we've got going on is just west of Alta, we have wind that is moving away from the radar, like so. I'm doing my best to do some drawing, right? And then we have this green color. That indicates wind that is moving toward the radar. So we're seeing likely some rotation taking place right in this area here, west of the Alta area, heading off to the north and to the east. And this is moving at about 20 miles per hour. So what we'll do now is show this is starting to tighten up a little bit once again here across portions of Greenbrier County. We're going to zoom on in, and you'll see that this is across the Route 60 corridor. So this is just near the Smoot area, heading northeast toward Clintonville. You guys should be in your safe spots here. Again, that's going to be in your basement. That's going to be in the interior portion of your home. We have a tornado warning that continues until 5:30. And that's the velocity product. Let's pop the radar back up here. Yeah, we've got a little bit of a notch showing up. So this would be the area of concern here across portions of Greenbrier County. It's going to be right in this area here. We call this, again, the inflow notch of the thunderstorm. So basically there is wind that is going into this storm that's allowing it to try to rotate. So this is just south of Clintonville, moving up to the north and to the east. So again, kind of generally speaking, moving off north and east at about 20 miles per hour. And again, this storm is showing some signs of strengthening as it continues to work its way up to the north and to the east. And and also on top of that, you see the dark reds. You see the purples here near Meadow Bluff. Could be some small hail taking place with this farther up to the north. This would not be the area that we would be concerned about for the tornado. The immediate tornado threat is just to the south and west of Clintonville, and that continues off to the north and to the east. And again, we can kind of just keep going back and forth here between the radar. Yeah, this is starting to look rather impressive here, just to the south and west of Clintonville. So again, I cannot say this enough. If you are in Clintonville, if you are along Route 60 between Meadow Bluff and Alta, if you are along Route 60-9, 60-21, Piercy Road, out toward Loudermilk Road, as well as over toward Huggard. There's a tornado warning in place. This thunderstorm is re-intensifying. That rotation is starting to become a little tighter here once again as this heads off to the north and east. We'll show some data with this. Yeah, this is going to be in Clintonville by 5:06. Cornstalk, this has been staying pretty steady by about 5:20. If you're in Cornstalk, go ahead and get into your safe place. If you're in Rockcliffe, 5:14, get into your safe place. If you're in Fort Donnelly, 5:26, get into your safe place. Now, you might be getting on your phones if you're tuning in. You've gotten the tornado warning and you live in Lewisburg and the tornado warning says Greenbrier County. You are safe in Lewisburg. You are safe in White Sulphur Springs. You're safe out toward Raynell and Rupert. It is specifically along Route 60 in between Alta and about the Meadow Bluff area that is of greatest concern right now as this thunderstorm continues to head off to the north and to the east. And again, it's this notch in particular. Yeah, this is looking rather impressive by each scan. Man, this is going to be right over the Clintonville area momentarily. Let's see if we can see anything on some of our dual pole products, including our debris detector. Not really seeing anything, so that's some good news. Perhaps some small hail just on the east side of Meadow Bluff, I should say. Meadow Bridge is in the clear. But over toward Meadow Bluff, yeah, that's likely some small hail taking place based off that data that's coming in. But again, that hook, we see a little bit of a hook showing up there. That's the area of rotation that we're continuing to watch here. We've been on air now for, about just under a half hour or so. And this is about the strongest radar presentation that we've had from this thunderstorm since we've been on air, as this continues to head off to the north and to the east, now at about 22 miles an hour. So it is speeding up slowly but surely. And where you see those purples, that is where we are talking about the potential for some small hail. This would not be the area where we're talking about the potential for the tornado. That's a little farther down to the south and east toward Clintonville. So what we'll do is actually zoom in just a little bit farther into the Clintonville area. So if you are along, let's say, what is that, Spots Ridge right there, that would be an area where if you're up on a ridge line, you could probably see this thing rotating very easily here at this juncture. And again, that is the tornado warning continuing until 5:30. Clintonville right in the path of this. So we'll move this back up to the north and east just a bit. Clintonville, if you're there right now, not seeing much in the way of any rain shower activity. It's very light, but boy, you're about to get blasted with some rain. And yes, the potential is there for a tornado to be on the ground. In fact, what we'll do is change things just for a quick moment, and we'll see if we have any other evidence showing up with some of our products of any potential debris that's being detected here. We'll zoom back out here, put this into motion, and you'll see that thunderstorm, man, that thing is really looking stout at this point. Again, that's a tornado warning. Right up to Cornstalk. If I was in Cornstalk, I'd be getting into my safe spot, though. Go ahead and take shelter because this thunderstorm at this moment is rather strong. And basically, we've got a couple of things that we're looking at here. Again, right toward the Huggard area, that's called the inflow. So that is basically what is enabling this thing to be spinning out toward the Clintonville area. This is the hail core of the thunderstorm. We're likely seeing some small hail, and what we'll do is we'll take a look at the barren triple threat and see what we're seeing. And yeah, we're starting to see some hail. It's a little farther down to the south, but I think with the new update, we'll see that move up to the north and east. But we'll likely see that this is going to move up to the north and east, and those hail values are likely closer to a half inch to an inch of hail. In fact, our barren triple threat is suggesting as much as an inch of hail in diameter. I'm not sure if it's quite that intense, but nonetheless, this continues to work off to the north and to the east, and there is a high likelihood that we are seeing at least some small hail with this as it does continue to do so. So what we are going to do here, what I'd like to do is take a look back over toward links 2, and what we'll do is we'll kind of keep going back and forth between the two of these here. We're going to switch just briefly back over to links 2, and as we do so, we're going to look at some of the tornado data. Again, this is almost the 10-year anniversary of 2 EF2 tornadoes that took place in Mercer and Raleigh counties very late at night. The first one was at about 10:30 in the evening. That was the year we had 11 tornadoes in West Virginia. 10:30 in the evening in Aud, West Virginia, an EF2 tornado with winds of around 125 miles per hour. Then, about 45 minutes later, we had a second tornado that was right by Camp Creek State Park, down toward the Spanishburg area, just north of Spanishburg. And that was a weaker tornado, but this just kind of goes to show that late September, early October, we do see severe weather here in this region from time to time. And we're seeing that right now. There is evidence that we could have a tornado on the ground. As far as power outages are concerned, very little amounts, so that is good. We'll see if those numbers begin to increase over the next several minutes as this data is assimilated. We have 300 customers without power in Wyoming County right now. I would imagine that is probably not severe related. This is a marginal risk for severe weather. I didn't get a chance to change this, so disregard this graphic here, but it is a level 1 risk for severe weather, and in particular, perhaps an instance of damaging wind gusts, and there's enough wind shear in the atmosphere in our southeastern counties to where we could see a tornado or two pop up, and that is why we're seeing the tornado warning issued. We have a lot of wind shear that is in place currently, and we look out toward the area, a lot of us seeing gloom and doom conditions, very gloomy skies. What I'll do is let's switch back over to Links 1 once again, and as we do so, we'll look and see what the new data is showing here. We're getting those data scans, by the way, about every minute or so in our system. We have some very advanced technology within our Storm Tracker 59 HD dual live Doppler radar that allows us to really get a good look at these storms and at a very fast update, a rapid 60 to 90 second scan. Every 60 seconds, we're getting new information about the storm. So if we could switch back over to Links 1, that would be fantastic. We're seeing darkening skies across the region right now. And there we go. Man, that is a heck of a hook that is starting to show up just to the north and east of Clintonville now. Man, I would definitely be in my safe spot with this storm. This storm is serious in nature now as it continues to head off to the north and to the east. I'm keeping the arrow highlighted here so that we can see the ever-evolving towns and communities that could be impacted by this storm. So again, Cornstalk, we're talking about 10 minutes now. So there's the possibility we may get another tornado warning issued for this storm here in just a bit. And we're seeing a lot of cloud-to-ground lightning. That indicates a little rule of thumb in meteorology. If you've got a thunderstorm that's working its way through an area and you see an uptick in lightning activity, that generally means the thunderstorm is strengthening, and that is what we're seeing right now across portions of Greenbrier County. Again, this is not in Cornstalk just yet, but man, about 2 miles by the Bird's Eye down to your south and west along Route 60, it is getting nasty out there. Let's take a look at the velocity scan. Yeah, this is not what we want to see here. So yeah, we're going to have to continue to watch this. There may very well be a new tornado warning that gets issued with this here momentarily. So we'll have to watch this very closely. And the interesting thing since we've been on here is that the wind is continuing to pick up with this as it heads off to the north and east. Now with this scan, if you look, not much green showing up here. So again, this could be cycling once again. And if that's the case, then we'll have to see if a new tornado warning is issued. Yeah, it looks like this is kind of being sheared off a little bit. We're still seeing the inflow of the storm. That's indicated here. We call this the inflow notch. And then we also have what's known as the rear inflow back on the backside. This is the core of the storm over Kiefer. That's heading off to the north and east. If we have any hail with this system, it's going to be over toward Kiefer. So Cornstalk's not going to have to worry about hail. That'll stay up to your north here. That'll be farther up toward, let's say, Friars Hill perhaps over the next 10 to 15 minutes. But if anything, this is looking a little less organized at the moment. But that's been kind of the theme with this storm, is that it has been cycling. So you'll get 2 or 3 scans, so about 3-4 minutes worth, where you see some pretty convincing evidence that there could at least be a rotating, perhaps a wall cloud or a funnel, not necessarily on the ground, and then it kind of shears apart for a minute, and then we see more activity form up, and that's what happened in Summers County. We were watching this storm about 2:45 this afternoon in portions of Mercer County, and kind of cycled back out for a bit, and then regenerated, kind of got organized once again just north of the Hinton area. That is likely some hail, though, that is falling just west of Cornstalk. But again, this is not heading toward Cornstalk. This is heading up to the north and east. Cloud-to-ground lightning evident here with our in-house product, and the heaviest rain of which likely mixing in with that, probably contributing to some of those high values that you're seeing on the radar. We're going to keep going back and forth here between the radar and the velocity. Still going to have to watch this closely because we're still seeing some rotation here. So again, if you're just now tuning in, it's 5:06. So normally we'd be showing you our headlines throughout the region, but right now we are under a tornado warning for a small section of Greenbrier County. This does not include Lewisburg. Lewisburg, you're right here. You are in good shape. We'll put the radar back up so you can kind of see this for reference here. Lewisburg is down here in the clear. Okay, we'll have some showers that'll work your way into the area here in a bit. White Sulphur Springs, you're also in good shape for now. We'll watch this line approach later on. The area, the meat and potatoes of this line that is of greatest concern is a little farther up to your north and west. Just to be on the safe side. You're not quite in the tornado warning yet in Williamsburg, but man, this storm has shown plenty of signs of regenerating itself. I would definitely be getting into my safe spot if I could here. In fact, I'm going to keep going back and forth. I know I sound like a broken record on this, but we're going to keep going back and forth, taking a look at the rotation, which is right in here. This is very close to Cornstalk. Let's draw on here. I'm going to show my Bob Ross abilities here once again. So again, that red that you see, those red parcels on the radar, those are parcels that are showing wind moving away from the radar. Now, it's important to know which radar we're looking at. We're looking at the Roanoke radar. So that means the wind is moving away from Roanoke. Then you see the green wind, and that indicates wind that is moving toward the radar. So what happens when those two winds collide? Well, you get some rotation sometimes, and that is what we're looking at. We'll have to see if a new tornado warning is issued because this storm is moving a bit quicker than it was earlier, so it is already almost out of this tornado warning that was issued until 5:30. So it is possible we may get a new warning issued, or we'll see this one be allowed to expire. I can't imagine that this warning will be up until 5:30 because it is almost completely out of the area. But again, that's the velocity presentation, and it continues to show signs of rotation here, a little broader at least at the moment. We'll see if that regenerates. We'll go back to the radar here for a bit. Yeah, this is not looking quite as organized. That is a heck of a hail core, though, that is showing up across northern parts of, the northern parts of this warning, just northwest of Cornstalk. We'll zoom in here on this system. And again, Kiefer, you're pretty well in the clear at this point. I'm going to pop that off just for a second. Kiefer is mostly in good shape at this juncture. That is the hail core working off to the north and to the east. Cornstalk is just missing this. Williamsburg is going to be a real close call, scooting off to the north and east. This would eventually head toward the Trout area. That's a decent little community there. Along Trout Road, for example, you see that pretty commonly if you're driving in Greenbrier County. Notice the abundant amount of cloud-to-ground strikes, though. This storm is still ramping up with plenty of energy. And again, the tornado warning, though, farther down to the south and west. In fact, it is right in this area, right in here. And we'll see if this recycles a bit. We're going to probably need potentially a new warning that may need to be issued here, depending on whether this thing can get tightened. It's not super tight at the moment, but there it is. Still kind of some noisy data that is coming in, perhaps some rotation showing up, but this is not quite as strong of a signature as what we saw just a few moments ago. But again, this is one of those situations where when meteorologist Bradley Wells is creating these graphics when it comes to severe weather awareness, this is what we're talking about. We get severe weather sometimes here in southern West Virginia, and it's important to make a plan when we do have that inclement weather that is working through the region. And so when we do see storms like this from time to time, although it is rare, we have a plan that's in place to where we are able, you are able to keep you and your family safe. And of course, something we haven't talked about, do not try to outdrive a tornado. That is a terrible idea. We'll zoom back out here for a bit. I want to kind of show what else is going on here across the region right now. And let's see. I'm looking to see if they're going to issue a new tornado warning. It looks like that may be coming down the pipe here. Let's see. And yeah, we've got a new tornado warning until 5:45. There it is. That is for central portions of Greenbrier County. So let's read the information together. At 5:09, severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Williamsburg. This is near Rupert, not too far away, moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. So we are continuing to see signs of rotation with this. So you're going to want to move to a basement or an interior room. Lowest floor of a sturdy building. As this is radar indicated rotation, we're talking about the threats here being a tornado as well as quarter-size hail. So what I'm going to do is zoom back in on our cell here. Looking a little noisy. Man, that is a heck of a hail core that is showing up with this regardless. And I'm going to move our strikes. I just noticed that was blocking a little bit. We are seeing this thunderstorm try and regenerate now across central portions of Greenbrier County. So this also includes Falling Spring, Williamsburg, Trout, as well as Frankfort and Rennick. So we've got a few towns now that need to definitely pay attention to this. And again, this is a thunderstorm that is continuing to show signs of rotation. We do not have any reports of anything on the ground. I want to make that clear, but based on the data that is present, this thunderstorm has the potential to possibly spawn a tornado. It would be right near Cornstalk right now. That is continuing to head off to the north and east. The National Weather Service has gone ahead and said, you know what? It's close enough for government work. We need to go ahead and continue to keep these folks warned with another tornado warning. And I think it's a good call because this is still showing lots of signs of rotation through Greenbrier County now. So again, we're talking about some of the towns. Falling Spring, out toward the Trout area, Cordova as well, Sunlight, Eunice, all the way out to about Spring Creek. So keep in mind, this is away from Lewisburg. This is away from White Sulphur Springs. This is away from Caldwell. This is away from other portions of the county outside of the real central areas here. And again, this continues to work off to the north and east. If you're watching and you're in Raynell, you're in the clear. If you're watching and you're in Rupert, it was a close call, but you're in the clear. The storm is away from you now. Even though you're still under the severe thunderstorm warning, that storm has worked its way off to the north and east, and we're in good shape there. If you're in Quinwood, you're fine. If you're up toward Clearco, you're in good shape. But again, this is the area of concern. Let's pause this and take a look at some of that velocity once again. Then we'll talk a little bit about some climate stuff as far as tornadoes are concerned here in the Mountain State. It has been a record-breaking year. After all, I kept thinking to myself, would we get to 20? We're at 19 right now. Let's hope it stays at 19. We definitely don't want to see any more tornadoes being determined here. This velocity presentation, not as impressive perhaps as it was earlier. This is much broader rotation that's now showing up as it scoots between Cornstalk and Eunice. So this is going to continue to head off to the north and east. We'll pop the data back up here. So this will be at Williamsburg by 5:19. This will be at Sunlight by 5:24. Trout at 5:27. Friars Hill at 5:29. Estey, man, I think I wanted to say Etsy there for a second. Estey by 5:35. Cordova by 5:36. Falling Spring by 5:37. Leonard at 5:40. And then we head toward Oscar by 5:40. All of these areas are in a tornado warning. Now, a lot of those are little small communities, some of which aren't even unincorporated. But a couple of things to notice about this, and just on that new scan, we're seeing a little more rotation showing up with this. This is moving to the north and east at 26 miles per hour. When we popped up on here around 4:30 this afternoon, this was moving off to the northeast at about 18 miles an hour. So this storm is moving faster and faster and faster, and there is plenty of lightning with this. We had very little lightning with this storm a little earlier, but again, if you're just now tuning in, we would be watching 59 News at 5. We would actually probably be talking about the weather forecast, but we do have severe weather that is taking shape in Greenbrier County. We have a tornado warning. We actually have two of them, but one of them is basically preceding the other and will be allowed to expire. It is this area right in here, just southeast of Cornstalk now, that is of the greatest immediate concern. So this is especially going to be a close call for the Falling Spring area in about 10-15 minutes. Actually, it'd be about 20 minutes based on how quickly the storm is moving off to the north and to the east, showing some signs of tightening back up once again. Oh yeah, we're definitely seeing some tightening taking place here Again, it's kind of a classic case here. If you see something that looks like a hook and there's instability present in the atmosphere, that's usually not a good sign. And we are seeing that with this thunderstorm as it continues to head off to the north and to the east at roughly 26 miles per hour. Again, tornado warning continuing until 5:45, and that is a thunderstorm that very well could be producing a tornado here in our region. Now, I want to do a couple things here. Stand by just for a second. This thunderstorm, we're going to keep the radar up momentarily, but here in just a couple of moments, I'm going to switch back over to the links 2 so that we can take a look at some data. I'm going to keep that radar up for just a moment here as I get a couple of things laid out. But again, we are talking about more chances for scattered showers and thunderstorms here as we head toward later on this evening. Some of those storms could continue to be on the strong side. It's not a big risk overall, but we could have a strong storm or two, and we're seeing that right now. Okay, if we could switch over to links 2, that would be fantastic. And again, there's the thunderstorm in question, and here's the broader picture that we are looking at. This is a line, basically, of rain. It is, I'm kind of calling this a conveyor belt, if you will, because it's essentially what it is. We are seeing a lot of wind, not here at home, like up in the atmosphere, that is carrying wind from the Gulf of Mexico, transporting warm and moist air up into the area out ahead of this cold front that is back to our west. And what is happening is, basically, the atmosphere is being squeezed like a sponge, and it is squeezing all the moisture out as this warm and moist air is being pushed along this air mass that is scooting its way in from the west. We call this a predecessor rain event, a PRE for short. Basically, all that means is we're seeing steady rains, and it could get heavy. This is before the main event, which is Helene, which will be in here as we head toward Friday morning. Now, I don't think we're going to see a ton of rain from Helene. The bigger issue with that storm will actually be the wind associated with it. We could see wind gusts as high as tropical storm force, even here in West Virginia, by the time we head toward mid-morning. So that's kind of the setup as far as what we're seeing from a broad perspective. The reason we're having severe weather, we haven't seen rain this afternoon across the Greenbrier River Valley. We're also seeing a little bit of wind shear present in the atmosphere, a change of wind direction with height that creates that natural rotation. We're going to look at that here in just a moment. Real quickly, let's take a look at some tornado stats once again. Again, almost the 10-year anniversary to the day of 2 tornadoes that went through southern West Virginia back on October 7th, 2014. We had an EF2 tornado in the Aud area in far southern parts of Raleigh County with winds of 125 miles per hour. That is not a weak tornado, folks. We do see them from time to time during the month of October. Then we had a secondary tornado that took place 45 minutes later, the first of which happened about 10:30 at night. The second one was around 11:15 at night in parts of Mercer County. These were both night tornadoes, so kind of a dangerous situation there. And we see tornadoes in West Virginia in all kinds of weird time frames. Believe it or not, Christmas Eve, we had a tornado up in Wood County, and Christmas Day, we've had a tornado in Preston County, both of which are in West Virginia. Not in our region, but in West Virginia. So never say never. We can see tornadoes just about any time of the year, and that's why we always exercise to have a plan in place in case we do see severe weather like what we're seeing for today. We look at the severe weather outlook for this evening. It is a marginal risk. It's a level 1 out of 5. We always say, hey, it's not a big risk for severe weather, but we never say don't take it seriously. Any risk for severe weather is something that you're going to want to at least keep in the back of your brain in case we do have something going on. And today's risk has been tornadoes because of the wind shear that is present in the atmosphere. We were talking about this yesterday, that we could have some damaging wind gusts. And as we head into today and tonight, we're also watching the risk for flash flooding, particularly farther down to the south. Friends down in McDowell and Wyoming, as well as down into Tazewell counties, we saw some pretty decent rainfall totals earlier today, around 1.5 inches in some spots, and that has created some pretty wet roads here throughout the region here this afternoon. So again, that'll be another thing that we're going to have to watch. And then by Friday, we're talking about the risk for strong wind gusts, which could create a few power outages. Speaking of power outages, not a lot of activity right now. No complaints there whatsoever, but we are seeing 300 customers that are out in Wyoming County. So again, if you are going to be in the Greenbrier County area and you see some damage, please send those in. Head over to our website, WVNSTV.com. Head over to Weather Together. Please upload your photos when you can do so safely. If you see damage that is scattered in all directions, that could possibly be the result of a tornado. Absolutely send that information in to us if we can, and we'll relay it over to the National Weather Service in Blacksburg so that they can go and do a storm survey. That's how we get these kind of events, these tornadoes, confirmed and documented for future reference. If the wind is all in the same direction, that is evidence of straight line winds. We see this oftentimes just with regular summertime thunderstorms via downburst, microburst, whatever you want to call them. Let's take a look again inside the tornado. How does the tornado happen? You have to have wind shear, and we do have wind shear in place here for today, and that wind shear is present across much of southeastern West Virginia because we haven't had much in the way of any rain to kind of restabilize the atmosphere. So as we work our way into this evening, this will continue to be something we'll have to watch in our eastern counties. But basically, wind shear, the change of wind with height, creates natural rotation horizontally. And we've been seeing that. But it takes something else to create actual vertical rotation that can cause a tornado to reach the ground. You need a thunderstorm or something to get some lift going, and it flips that horizontal rotation vertically, and that's when you can have a tornado here in our region. So where should you go? If you don't know this, now's the time to take notes if you're not in the warning. Hopefully you know this if you're in the warning. You're going to want to go down in your basement if you have a basement. That's the safest place to go because you're underground. Chances are you don't have too many windows. But what about if you don't have a basement? I don't have a basement. You want to go to the most interior portion of your home. Hopefully there's not too many windows there. You do not want to be near windows in cases like this. It doesn't matter the circumstances. You know what happens with wind and a glass? That is a bad combination. So we don't want to have to deal with that here. And again, go into the interior portion of your home. So again, we take a look. That's a tornado warning that continues. If we could switch back over to links 1, that would be fantastic here, so that we can take a look at what's going on here across the region. That is an old graphic. So let's switch it back over to links 1 if we can. That would certainly be good. And there we go. We look at the latest with our thunderstorm here that is working its way off to the north and to the east. And this storm is now looking quite disorganized, at least with this look at the scan in our area. So there we go. We'll put this back into, let's pop this off just for a second so that we can see the actual storm itself. And it's looking a little less in the way of organized. Some broad rotation showing up here, but this is over, what, that rotation, that mesocyclone is about 2 miles in diameter. So this is a much broader rotation. This is not the type of rotation that we would usually see or count on dropping a tornado. That is great news. But with that being said, the way this storm has been cycling, we do want to make sure that we stay in cover. If you're in Falling Spring, if you're in Spring Creek, even if you're a little farther up to the north and east, if you're over toward Beard and maybe Droop Mountain, just to play it safe, let's go ahead and get in our safe spots here in case this storm does cycle back and re-strengthen. Notice that we are losing those lightning strikes. I was just saying earlier, it's kind of like an old rule of thumb that if you see the lightning strikes increase with a thunderstorm, chances are that it is increasing in strength. We are not seeing that now. The storm continuing to head off to the north and to the east. In fact, we'll pop the data back up on it and show you the latest on which towns could be expected to be impacted by this. We're looking at a northeasterly component, 26 miles per hour now. So it is still getting a little faster here. Well, with the new update, now 24 miles per hour. Not much in the way of hail with this, at least at the moment. We'll see if it recycles. Trout, you're now looking at about 5 minutes or so. Friars Hill, 532. Cordova at 540. All of these towns need to get into your safe spot here. Let's see. Leonard by 544. Oscar at 544. Love Ridge. Wow, that's a romantic town, ain't it? 546. Jacobs there at 554. These are all very small communities, but again, cannot emphasize this enough. And this is it's trying to tighten back up again. We'll zoom back in. Yeah, this is definitely trying to cycle back. So let's take a look. We'll zoom back in. Yeah, we're even seeing our in-house product indicating this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pop that off because it obscures our ability to see the data. But basically, the in-house product right now, our Barron system, is saying, hey, there is rotation for sure, both in the mid-levels and in the low levels with this thunderstorm. What does that mean? That means this thunderstorm is still very dangerous and could drop a tornado. So we are going to continue to stay on here. Of course, we do have tonight live that's coming up at 5:30, but we will be staying on here until we see this issue be alleviated. I'm going to take that debris signature off just for a bit here. If I can get it off, it looks like it's trying to, it looks like it's being a little bit contrary, but if it stays on, no problem. Not really causing too much in the way of commotions. But we are still seeing quite a bit of rotation showing up with this storm as it does head off to the north and east. It has recycled once again, just since we started talking, from talking about what was on the left part, or talking about power outages and staying in your safe spot and things like that. This storm has recycled itself and is now heading off to the north and to the east, and will continue to do so. We're just going to leave that on there, actually, because that'll continue to kind of give us an indication of what the in-house product is thinking. But there's certainly some velocities that are indicating some strong rotation with this. In fact, I stepped off screen just to see if there was any new information coming in as far as to see if there was any new information as far as that warning is concerned, or whether a new one might get added. No information just yet, but this is going to continue to work its way off to the north and east. And if we still see signatures like this, we're going to have to start thinking about northeastern parts of Greenbrier County and southern parts of Pocahontas County here in just a bit, because they'll be the next ones in line with this system. So let's see. I'm going to pause this just for a second so we can get the radar back up. And we have the velocity showing up currently. And again, we've been live now for about just shy of an hour, and we continue to see that thunderstorm showing signs of rotation as it does scoot off to the north and to the east. So let's pop that back up. There we go. And we've been tracking this thunderstorm for a while now. This supercell originated back in Mercer County. It started strengthening in western parts of Mercer County toward Camp Creek State Park about 2:30, 2:45 this afternoon. I was getting ready to leave for work, was actually talking to somebody, was like, daggone, that looks rather impressive. Kind of made my way into work as quickly and safely as I could. Got into work, thought they might issue a warning at about 3 o'clock. Thankfully, it wasn't quite strong enough in terms of rotation. And then once it got into Summers County, well, it was a different ball game once again, and we've been tracking this storm ever since about 4:30 here this afternoon. But again, this is a thunderstorm that continues to show signs of strong rotation at times as it is cycling. And again, if you're in the cornstalk area, you are now clear. So I want to make that well known to the fact. The problem is, every time this storm kind of cycles itself out, it's just getting right back to it. So it looks like it's cycling out once again. Let's pop the velocity up for a moment. And there's still some pretty stout rotation right there by Sunlight. Close call between Sunlight and Trout for sure. But I haven't seen anything on the debris detector to indicate that there is anything on the ground. That is hail that is likely falling north of Trout. Where you see that lighter color right there, that is not a tornado. That is likely some hail that's either falling to the ground or is mixing in and melting as it makes its way down to the ground. So likely seeing at least some hail falling toward the Trout area. That would be heading up toward Cordova. Notice, though, we were talking about cycling. We're starting to see more lightning strikes with this storm now as it continues off to the north and to the east. So, again, it's kind of an ebb and flow where we see a couple of scans where the storm is real strong, and then beyond that, well, then it starts to weaken for a little bit, for about 5 or 10 minutes. We think maybe it's going to completely weaken, and then it recycles once again. It's basically done this about 5 times, since we've been on air. And again, we'll put this back into motion. Not seeing the structure like we were seeing earlier on the reflectivity on the Storm Tracker 59 HD Dual Live Doppler radar. And again, I want to give a big shout out, of course, to everybody here at the station that makes this possible as far as being able to deliver this information to you. We've had Bree in the back. She's been helping getting us switched back and forth between this display and our other weather display. We call them Links 1 and Links 2. You've heard me talking about those. Without her, we wouldn't be able to do that. A big shout out to everybody in the newsroom on the digital side of things for being able to publish this to where we can see this and deliver this potentially very helpful information to folks. And a big shout out, of course, to our managers here at 59 News for allowing us to have this kind of software to be able to show you exactly where that severe thunderstorm is likely, if there's a tornado, where it would most likely be. We would not be able to display this information without each person in the newsroom that makes this possible, and that's why we're able to deliver this potentially helpful information to you guys here this evening. And this continues to head off to the north and to the east. So if you're in Droop Mountain, this is going to miss you, it looks like. This is going to head a little farther up to the north toward Droop itself. This will be in Pocahontas County in about 20 or 25 minutes. So quickly racing its way through Greenbrier County now. Again, we've been on air since this was in just northeast of Hinton. So, man, can you imagine? Somebody is probably driving nearby and is probably driving the same route that this storm's been going. And hopefully you guys have been staying safe. We want you to take cover if you are in this warning. If you are in Falling Spring, you need to take cover. If you are in Trout, take cover. If you're in Cordova, you're probably going to be okay, but go ahead and take cover. You're in the warning. It's close enough for government work. Just go ahead and get into cover, and let's not take any chances there. Now, if you are farther down to the south and east toward Lewisburg and White Sulphur Springs, you're totally fine. You're not going to be impacted by this storm whatsoever. We'll see if more storms form later on, but for now, you are going to be okay. This is a storm that has continued to show signs of rotation. I'm actually going to move this back just a little bit so you can see more of that. And again, this the only bad thing about this storm moving up into Pocahontas County is the data becomes a little bit what I like to call noisy. We are pretty far away from the radar. In fact, I might even consider switching over to the Charleston radar. Let's see how this looks on the Charleston radar. Yeah, it looks even worse. That's really noisy data that's showing up. So let's switch back over to Blacksburg, and as we do so, it's going to be a little harder to see the structure because we are so far away from the radar. Now, you might be asking yourself, why does the data look worse if you're farther away from the radar? We have to imagine this radar is scanning from Roanoke, or in the Blacksburg area specifically, in Virginia, but it is scanning at a half-degree angle as it goes out. So basically, as it's going farther and farther and farther out from the radar, it is shooting higher and higher and higher up in the sky. And as a matter of fact, in central parts of Greenbrier County, this storm is being scanned at about 8,000 feet above the ground. So we're not actually being able to see exactly what's going on the ground. We're seeing everything at about 8,000 feet up. So anytime you see this green and red that we've been talking about now over the last few minutes, we're seeing more in the way of mid-level rotation. So again, it gets a little farther away from the radar up in Pocahontas County. That scan is going to get higher and higher up into the sky. So by the time that we get up into, let's say, the Marlinton area, we'll be scanning a little closer to 10,000 feet. Basically, all it does is it makes the radar data a little harder to dissect, a little harder to analyze, but we'll continue to do so as long as we have tornado warnings in place. And let's see, we haven't looked at the velocity here in a couple minutes. Yeah, we're still going to probably, there's a good chance we may have another warning that gets issued if this continues. That's still some tight rotation. That's a little broader on that last run there, but we've been still seeing some fairly tight rotation, working its way off to the north and east. If you're just now tuning in, you would be watching Tonight Live, which usually is on CBS at 5:30 Monday through Fridays. But instead, we do have a tornado warning. We will break in anytime we have a tornado warning that's issued to try to help provide you guys with some information that could potentially help you guys out as far as keeping you safe. And this thunderstorm's been the real deal. This has not been one where we're like, maybe not, No, this has been some pretty stout rotation with this at times here, and it'll be interesting to see if there are any reports of damage that come in. In fact, I was going to try and see if I could get that to pop up. It doesn't look like we've had anything. I'm scanning back down towards, we have not had any reports of damage with this just yet. I'm going to pause this just for a bit, though, and it looks like I missed it. I'll try and pause that. There we go. And again, if we continue to watch this, this would eventually head up toward the Hillsborough area, somewhere between Hillsborough and likely the Droop Mountain areas over the next 25 to 30 minutes as this thing is working its way up to the north and to the east. Our arrow is moving just a little too far up due north. It's moving a little more to the north and east. And basically the reason for that is this storm is what we call right turning. Basically, as the storm continues to work its way off to the north and east, it's curving a little bit. And we've been seeing that. It was near Cornstalk and was moving up to the north and east, but it's now starting to curve. And yes, that is some decent rotation. I would not be surprised if we get another warning that may be issued here momentarily if this rotation doesn't go away. That's some decent enough evidence to warn a tornado warning, a new tornado warning in my book. So it is possible that we may see a new one get issued. I'm going to step off the screen just for a moment to see if we've gotten any reports of new information or any reports of damage here from the folks that have been sending in potentially information. Doesn't look like we are seeing any new information coming in. I'm trying to check that for you as we speak. Just kind of letting everything load in here. It takes a second to kind of get everything zoned in. Yeah, we have not gotten any reports yet of any information regarding any wind damage or anything like that from this thunderstorm. But nonetheless, we'll continue to watch that and watch that list for you and see if we do see any information that does come in. Let's see. Yeah, I was looking. They had a couple of new updates that came in. No, I'm not seeing any reports of any damage. So that is good news. I would rather there not be any damage than there be damage. I think a lot of people would probably tend to agree with that. But again, this is a storm that has had a history, at least, of showing a lot of rotation, and so we will continue to track that. But again, a lot of us also, outside of this warning, have been like, wow, we've gotten a lot of rain across the region, and what we can do is kind of show where it has rained pretty heavy over the last 24 hours. I'm going to switch things up just for a minute here while we wait and see if a new warning gets issued. Where you see the green, that's where we've had a ½ inch of rain. We've had some areas that have seen closer to 2 inches of rain, and even in parts of McDowell County, we've had as much as 3 inches of rain. And this is over the last 24 hours, so there has been certainly a good bit of rain that has fallen, likely some swollen creeks and streams, some muddy waters showing back up after being about bone dry for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And as we continue here with this coverage of this tornado warning, we're going to be seeing more in the way of rain. What I'm going to do just for a moment is zoom out and show you all of the rain that is working its way slowly but surely up in the air. Now, we're not going to see all of this rain, but this is just a plume of moisture that continues to work up to the north and east. It's going to cause some heavy rainfall to continue to be something we'll have to watch closely over the next 48 hours. So that's kind of the wide picture, but the reason that we are breaking into tonight live is for this thunderstorm right here. This is the non-fine-tuned radar. Let's get the high res back up. There we go. And this is the thunderstorm. You can kind of just see how it's just kind of spinning as it works its way off to the north and to the east. This is right near Falling Spring right now. That's about where it is. We're going to zoom back in just a little bit. There we go. And that looks a little bit better. And again, this has been a situation where we've been tracking this thunderstorm that has been capable of producing perhaps a tornado, and has been doing so basically now for the better part of the last hour or so. I'm going to pause this here and so that we can take once again a look at the data inside of this storm. Again, this is near Falling Spring, not really seeing that hail core that we had just a few minutes ago. So again, this is going to be continuing to work off toward the north and east. This is getting awfully close to Pocahontas County at this junction. Again, if you've been watching this the whole time, we started back near Hinton. So we've had a pretty good little hike here through our region this afternoon as far as our coverage of this thunderstorm. And even before we had the warning issued, was showing some signs of rotation across portions of Mercer and western Summers County. I bet you if you were on a ridgetop, if you knew anybody up toward Irish Mountain before the rain started falling, they probably got a great view of this storm as it was working its way in. At a minimum, likely seeing some rotating clouds up in the sky. But again, no official reports of anything that's been on the ground. But yet this is a very a fairly tight circulation. This is what we call the mesocyclone. So the mesocyclone is basically the broad area of rotation, like so. Okay, so this circled area is what we call the mesocyclone. Basically, this is kind of the main nucleus of the storm, the big broad area where the tornado could be found in. Then within the mesocyclone, we look closer, and we'll do so here, for perhaps evidence of some tight rotation. So as we zoom in, if we had any rotation, it would likely be tightest right by Este. So let's circle once again. This area right in here would be where we have our tornado if we do have one. Notice that we're seeing more in the way of some lightning strikes. So chances are we're seeing some strengthening taking place with this. And this is continuing to work off northeast at about 25 miles an hour. We're just getting close now to the Pocahontas County border. So, of course, moving farther down to the south, that's Falling Spring there. I believe that's Buckeye Road following the river. And that eventually takes you out toward Droop Mountain, I should say. If you are in Trout now, you are in a clear area. You are clear. You are good to go to get out of your shelter. If you are in Sunlight, there's not a lot of folks that live in the Sunlight area, but you are good to go. Oh, yeah, look at this. Okay, we've got some really tight rotation once again. Yeah, we're more than likely going to have another tornado warning issued here. So for those that are working the back, yep, there it is, just on cue, right? We have a new tornado warning that has been issued. This is now for parts of Pocahontas County. This is going to be with the National Weather Service in Charleston, and good for them for coordinating with the National Weather Service in Blacksburg to extend this warning. This is showing a lot of signs of more rotation. Let's see, this tornado warning, let's see how long that goes, until 6:15. So we're going to continue to be on here until this threat is over. This is now a tornado warning for Pocahontas County. So this includes the Julia area. This is some real rural areas there. Droop Mountain, for example, is in this. Renix Valley, Oscar, right up to about Droop. If I were you, though, if you were in the Droop area, I'd just go ahead and get into your safe spot because you're close enough to do so. I'm going to zoom back out here just for a minute. This is starting to look rather impressive once again, just to the north and west of Falling Spring. Again, that is a new tornado warning that is issued for parts of, that is right up to the Pocahontas County border. I thought that did include parts of Pocahontas County. We've got a new tornado warning right up to the Pocahontas County border, including northern parts of Greenbrier County. Now, this is a very broad area of rotation. Actually, with this new scan, not anything looking overly paramount in terms of tight circulation, but nonetheless, a very strong thunderstorm, at a minimum, capable of producing damaging wind gusts, some strong winds. This is going to go until 6:15, and this continues to work its way up to the north and east. So again, this does not include Pocahontas County just yet, but likely will if this continues to rotate over the next 15 to 20 minutes. I'm looking to see if we have any information that's come down regarding any new information. I'm not seeing that here just yet, but we are going to be let's see. Looks like so they continue to issue the tornado warning. That's going to go up to until 6:15. Was just looking to see if we had any reports of damage yet. Still nothing like that. But what we'll do is, once again, we're going to keep toggling back and forth, and we're going to switch back over to Links 2. We're going to talk about the threats here this afternoon and evening and why we're seeing strong thunderstorms in our region. So the Storm Prediction Center earlier today issued a marginal risk for severe weather. And that is basically for our entire area. It's a level 1 out of 5 risk. And you might be thinking to yourself, wow, this is a level 1 risk and we're seeing a tornado warning, right? Well, it's a low risk overall. We've only had a tornado warning, or really any severe warnings issued, period, because of a single cell. It's just been a storm that has been spinning like a top here this afternoon. It is tall enough, that thundercloud is tall enough in the atmosphere, it is working with the wind shear that is present in our area and is providing that necessary rotation to allow for this to continue. And so we continue to be watching. This is why we're still live on here. We've been on for about an hour 15. Tonight live would be on right now, but we are watching, again, that potential for a tornado. So that is the overall threat. And again, with the wind shear present, our area was highlighted today with a 2% risk of seeing a tornado. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to see a 2% risk of just seeing a tornado. The real thing here is it's a 2% risk of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of a point. So what does that mean? If you live in Hinton, you have a 2% chance of seeing a tornado 25 miles from you today. If you're in Raynell, you have a 2% chance of seeing a tornado within 25 miles of you. It doesn't sound very high, and it's not, but we have had one, at least tornadic, at least a storm that is showing a lot of rotation. And then on top of that, we do have the risk for flooding. And we do have this continuing here for tonight. McDowell County, Wyoming County, Tazewell counties did see some rather impressive rainfall totals earlier today, especially during the late morning hours, as that rain just kind of trained over the same area. We saw some rainfall totals north of 2 inches in those spots. And again, we have this cold front that is back to our west. It is very dry back to our west. Now, I want to make one thing very clear about our rainy pattern. Yes, it is super rainy currently. We get through this weekend, and the remnants of Helene will work their way off to the west. Once that system, though, is out of here, we're going to be dry for at least another week or so. So let's take the rain while we can, as long as we don't see any flooding. Now, thankfully, we haven't had any reports of flooding, although we do still have a flash flood warning for parts of eastern Raleigh County. I do think that'll be allowed to expire. Those areas did not end up seeing that much rain. And then again, I want to talk about tornado climatology. We've talked about it a couple times here during the last hour change, however long we've been on here. But ironically, in about 2 weeks or so, what is today? I think today's the 25th. Yeah, we're about 2 weeks away from the 10-year anniversary of 2 tornadoes that struck this area back in October in our region. On October 7th, 2014, we had an EF2 tornado that struck Odd, West Virginia, caused a lot of damage out that way, out toward Odd Road, and it basically fizzled right as it got up to about Winter Place. It moved right by the station here at 10:30 at night. Night tornadoes are even more dangerous because you can't see them. But we do see them from time to time. It's very rare that we see tornadoes. We only average about 2 a year in West Virginia. But in 2014, we had 11. And in 2023, we had 1. And this year, that needs to be updated. We've had 19. It's been a record-breaking year this year. And hopefully, we remain at 19. That second tornado, by the way, took place just a little farther down to the south in parts of Mercer County, toward Camp Creek State Park, not too far from the Spanishburg area. And that was an EF1 tornado. So we do see them from time to time. And again, if you're going to be out this evening, just give yourself some extra time because the roads are very wet. We have some saturated roads. We also have some leaves down on some of the area roadways. Of course, the leaves have been so stressed. The trees have been letting them go because the trees have been so stressed from the drought that has been taking place over the last couple of months. So you create that kind of that dual, that dichotomy of a threat there where we have both the wet roads, the leaves on the ground, and that can create some slick roadways. So let's be cognizant of that here over the next couple of days as this rain works its way through. We'll have Helene work its way into the region Friday, and with that will be an uptick in wind gusts. We're talking about wind gusts that could be north of 40 miles an hour in some spots. That would be enough to perhaps cause a few scattered power outages. So again, we take a look at damage because it's important that we denote the difference here in our region. Tornado damage, scattered in all directions. Not going to be in the same line here. This would be due to the rotation of the tornado. Kind of, I think about it as like watching the Tasmanian Devil, right? When you used to watch cartoons, I watched the Looney Tunes growing up. And when we would see this, you would see stuff get thrown all over the place, right? That's basically would be a tornado. Now, if it happens all in the same direction, that is not a tornado in all likelihood. That's straight line winds. That happens due to downbursts, general garden variety storms in the afternoon where you get a strong outflow. It's like gust fronts and things like that. That's where you would be most likely to see that. And then before we go back to the radar, and we will hear momentarily, we want to talk once again about those safe spots. We cannot emphasize this enough. You've got to come up with a plan here because when we have days like today where we have wind shear present, where we have a changing of wind direction with height, we already naturally get the horizontal rotation. Then on top of that, you get a storm or two that grows vertically and interacts with that and allows that to switch. And that's why sometimes you get rotating thunderstorms. So again, go down to your basement if you can. If you've got one. I don't have one. So if you don't have a basement, where do you go? Well, you got to go into the interior of your home, preferably away from windows. That would be the big thing. So a room without any windows. When I go and do some school visits, We always go over this because this could be potentially life-saving information. They talk about this a lot more, obviously, in places like Texas and Oklahoma and Nebraska, because those areas do see a lot of tornadoes and we don't. That's just the facts of life. We don't see tornadoes like other places, but we do see them from time to time. And so it's important for us to know what to do when we do see a storm like today that has rotation that is capable of producing a tornado. Let's go back to Lynx 1 if we can, and we'll take a look at the latest with this thunderstorm now. And there it is, still working its way off to the north and east. Now, there is a concerning sign with this last scan, the last couple of scans, especially when you start talking about scanning in the mid-levels. We were talking just a bit ago that this storm is being scanned at about 10,000 feet. There's a little feature showing up on this that you might be able to tell. I call this a donut hole. And yep, that's the result. We have a new tornado warning that has been issued. So we're going to be remaining on here. This is going to go, we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. This is including Pocahontas County. There is a decent chance we've got something on the ground right now because of this right here. I always call this a donut hole, but basically the reflectivity takes a drop on our Storm Tracker 59 HD dual live Doppler radar. We've likely probably got some pretty stout rotation on here. And we're going to switch oops, that is not the right location. If we switch to the velocity, yeah, we've got some rotation showing up right here. So we've got enough mid-level rotation showing here. There's a decent chance we've got something on the ground here. There's really no way to tell because we were scanning so high up. But there in all likelihood is a storm very close to droop that potentially is dropping perhaps a tornado. And this is heading off to the north and to the east. So we'll switch back over here for just a moment. This is heading off to the north and east. Let's take a look at that new warning. That is until 6:15 as well. So no difference as far as impact time frame. This is a look of concern, though, because of the presentation that is showing up. So what we're going to do here, we'll pop the towns back up. Still, I think this is going to continue to nose its way a little farther to the north and east than what the radar might be indicating here because this is right turning. It's kind of curving as it works off to the north and to the east. So if you're just now tuning in, we do have another tornado warning. That goes until 6:15 for our friends in southern Pocahontas County. So this is going to continue for a bit longer. And now moving northeast at about 20 miles per hour. If you're in the Spice area, this is a very rural area, but nonetheless, we've got people that live there, and so we're going to continue to stay on here and hopefully provide some meaningful information. Lobelia at 610, Spice at 610, Love Ridge, the romantic town of Love Ridge at 558. Very small community. I'm going to move this a little farther up to the north and east, though, because as we do so, you'll see this tornado warning does include a good chunk of Pocahontas County. This does not include Marlinton. We're not quite up to Marlinton just yet. But if you're in Marlinton, you better be keeping an eye on this because at least at this point, these tornado warnings have been consecutive, right after another, because the rotation has been quick to dissolve, but quick to regenerate. And so with that being said, I mean, if you're in Marlinton at this point, probably not a bad call to just go ahead and get into your safe spot. So this is crossing into Pocahontas County as we speak. So we're getting up toward the Mill Point area. I'm going to zoom back in here, and we'll get a nice close look at this. This is going to be out toward Hillsboro. Of course, that's Route 219. That's the scenic highway, for example. And again, if you're in Hillsboro, please get into your safe spot. This is going to be very close to you. We popped the velocity back up. Yeah, so the velocity is just trailing a little bit. I almost wonder if that data might be a smidge delayed, maybe a minute or so delayed. It's probably right around here, and we'll see if that gets. I do think that that arrow from our in-house product is a little more accurate this time. It's going to be a little more to the north and to the east, and so we're talking about droop by 6:06. So we'll be here as this moves through the droop area, all the way out to about Hillsboro at 6:22. And you can see some of the other towns that are included here. That include Spice, Locust, Beard, Denmark, 6:16, Burnside's at 6:20. So again, this is a thunderstorm that has continued to show plenty of signs of rotation. And there we go, continuing to head off to the north and to the east. And again, we head a little farther up to the north and the east. Of course, we've got Watoga, we've got Violet, Mill Point, Hillsboro. These are all fairly small communities. Of course, a lot of history over in these areas. And there's a lot of people that live in these areas too. And you definitely want to go ahead and get into your safe spot if absolutely possible because this storm is dangerous. And we're not seeing as much lightning strikes, So that is good. In fact, what we're going to do is zoom in even more and take a look at some of those specific roadways where we're going to be seeing those potential impacts. So I'm going to pop this back off so that we get a full look. There we go. And again, our rotation right now is just to the west of Droop. So this is going to be over toward Bushy Flats, for example, Route 5-1, Route 29, over toward the Scenic Highway, of course. And then this is up toward Spice, eventually over toward the Locust area. This is going to continue to head off to the north and to the east, like so. So kind of follow a trajectory like this and continue to the north and east toward Beard. This is the Greenbrier River, of course. Probably not too many people out on the river trail today because of how rainy it is, so maybe that's a good thing. But man, I hope that if there is anybody out on the river trail, they can find a way to seek some shelter here, because this is a thunderstorm that has certainly meant business as it has worked its way up into the area. This is looking a little bit broader at the moment, so we could be seeing a little bit of cycling taking place with this. As we put this back into motion, still, this is being scanned in the mid-level, so that rotation is not going to be quite as tight, quite as refined as if it were being scanned close to the ground to be able to see a tornado real well. But instead, we'll see data from the mid-levels, and so we take a look at our Barron triple thread, and yeah, that's likely some decent-sized hail there. As we do a little bit of sampling here, you'll be able to see that where we have the purple, that's where we're talking about some small hail. So we've got half-inch hail, and then over toward Renix Valley, that's where we're talking about those strong winds, and that is the greatest concern. And now we're seeing for sure, perhaps this is indicating a little greater danger here with that yellow arrow, I should say, and that is working its way, continuing to head off to the north and east at about 25, 30 miles per hour. But this is starting to look rather significant once again. What we're going to do is try and switch radars and see if we can see a little bit better. I'm going to clear this out. You'll have to bear with me here. It takes a second to get everything cleared back out. And let's see, let's get that closed here. There we go. And then take a look at the velocity from the Charleston radar. Yes, so this would be the area of concern right in here. So now, at least from this area, from this radar, we're not looking from Roanoke at the moment. We're looking a little bit more toward a more horizontal way of looking at this, because the Charleston radar is back to the west. And so with that being said, we're seeing winds moving kind of horizontally here. And so our area of rotation is right there, right over Renix Valley. It's going to be just to the south and west of Droop. And again, that's pretty remarkable rotation showing up, considering how high up in the sky that we're scanning at. So basically, that's just layman's terms for saying that we've got still a lot of rotation showing up. Let's see what that looks like on the Roanoke radar. It's hard to tell which one is actually the better view here. They're about the same, but they also show different views of the storm. So again, it's kind of pick your poison at this point. I think we're going to stick with the Blacksburg radar as this continues to head off to the north and east. Once this gets up more into Pocahontas County, though, we will switch over to the Charleston radar, since that will be a little bit closer. But what I'm going to do is zoom back out here. As I'm doing so, we'll talk about some of those roads that are being impacted here in the immediate future. That does include Bushy Flats, Route 219 toward the Droop area there on the Scenic Highway. That is an area that is going to continue to be seeing impacts over the next few minutes. And then farther up to the north and east, so Route 20 over toward Burnside, up toward LaBelia itself, eventually toward Hillsboro, which is under the warning here right now. So we are continuing to see that. And then checking a look at any other, just trying to periodically check for some reports here to see if we've got any that are showing up. And yeah, I haven't been able to see, I was just trying to see if there was going to be any new warnings issued or anything like that. Just trying to keep up with the chats. This thunderstorm, again, a little hard to look at. Let's try the other radar location. There we go. I actually think that might be the better look here at this juncture. And yes, so what you're seeing now is much broader rotation showing up here. So we've got the reds and the greens. So we've got our rotation showing up right over the droop area. This is heading off to the north and to the east. This is following Route 219. This is going to be right over the Hillsboro area in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So again, this is going to be something that we'll be continuing to watch. Doesn't look like it's showing any signs of weakening anytime soon, so we will stay on here. Our tornado warning continues until 6:15, so we will be on here for at least 15 more minutes. And again, that is a thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado. We haven't had any reports of a tornado just yet. But again, this is something that we're going to continue to watch. I'm zooming back out because we haven't shown an animation in a hot second, so we will do that. And as we do so, as we work our way into the next couple of hours, we'll see the severe weather threat wane here in activity. So as we head off to the north and to the east, the last county that we've got to look at here is Pocahontas County. And so that is the next county that is up for grabs here as far as potentially being impacted by this tornado. By this tornado warning. We haven't had a report of any tornadoes on the ground or anything like that. This has been across portions of Summers County, Mercer County, Greenbrier County, and now in Pocahontas County. Sorry, I took a swig of water there. So we'll zoom back in here and we will zoom on and take a closer look at this. If you're just now tuning in, it is 6 o'clock. We would be watching 59 News at 6, but we've been interrupted by Mother Nature. Mother Nature has been causing a little bit of chaos across parts of the region with a tornado warning. It's a series of tornado warnings that have now been issued over the last couple of hours, where we've been on here for about an hour and a half. That was when the first tornado warning came up. We were up within about a minute, maybe 90 seconds to get everything finalized and ready to go. And again, a big shout out to our directors, our folks in the booth that are making this possible. We've had Bree in the booth switching back and forth between Links 1 and Links 2, making this possible. Our producers for kind of understanding the realm of the situation of how dangerous this thunderstorm is as it does continue to head off to the north and to the east. But again, let's kind of reset for a second, because a lot of areas that were under the warning are no longer under the warning. So if you are anywhere in Greenbrier County, you're safe now. We've got a little sliver left in the tornado warning, but you're clear. This storm is now in Pocahontas County fully. And so we'll go ahead and take a look, zoom back in here. This is going to be a thunderstorm that we're scanning at a little bit of altitude, at about 9,000 feet. Notice that the lightning strikes did increase from it for a bit, but now we're not seeing that. So the storm is cycling once again. It is weakening. We'll see if it cycles once again. If you notice, though, on that last frame, I'm going to pause this just for a second. We're seeing a little bit more of that curvature once again. That kind of gives me an inclination that we could be seeing yet again another regeneration taking place, another set of cycling. That would be right near the Hillsboro area. That center of circulation is probably just northeast of Droop. And if we switch back over, we will be able to see that here. Let's see what we've got. Yeah, so it's right near the Droop area. And again, that green indicates wind that is moving toward the radar. This is from Blacksburg, so this indicates the rotation that has been in question now for the last hour and a half or so, and that continues to head off to the north and east. We can also look at this from the Charleston radar, which is going to be a little bit, that is a lot noisier, so that is not as good of a look as I was hoping it would be. I thought we'd be able to slice the storm a little bit better by choosing a different location, but I think at least at the moment, we're going to continue to utilize the Blacksburg radar for our viewing purposes here to be able to analyze this thunderstorm. This supercell has been going on now for about 2 hours, again, kind of originating back in toward the Camp Creek State Park area, back toward the Matoka regions, about 2:45 this afternoon. It has traversed from there all the way into Pocahontas County. So we're talking about north of it's got to be at least 50, 60 miles over that time frame. But it is this area of rotation that is of the greatest concern. And that continues to head off to the north and to the east. And again, we will continue to be tracking this. It's kind of paralleling 219 right now. So a lot of folks, maybe they're heading off work. Maybe you're driving home from Marlinton, or maybe you're getting ready to and you're watching this. I would stay put for a minute if you're wanting to head south on 219, which is this little yellow line that you see here. That's the squigglies. Anybody who's driven through 219 knows that's a bit of a curvy road in some spots. It's a beautiful drive, though, especially this time of year. But maybe not the most beautiful right now because of the rain showers and the potential for a tornado to be on the ground. Now, we haven't seen any real evidence as far as damage reports. If you know anybody that's in this area, once they get cleared out, have them check. We would love to be able to see some information regarding that. And now we just have the tornado warning in Pocahontas County. Everything in Greenbrier County has been allowed to expire. So we have this tornado warning until 6:15, and we'll see if a new one gets issued. We have about another, 10 minutes or so with this current warning. And again, nothing showing up on our debris detector. That is fantastic news. So we're not seeing any particles. Basically, our debris detector, how does it work? It is scanning in the sky for different sized particles. Maybe a stick would be something small that it would scan. But you also have bigger particles like a 2x4, and then eventually like the siding off of a house or something like that. And basically, the larger those particles are, the smaller or the lower the value would be on our debris detector. We would be seeing dark blues and light purples. We are not seeing that. We're seeing everything on the precipitation side of our debris detector. So that is great news. We have had some instances where we've turned yellow, but that's still precipitation. That is actually hail that's being detected. We had some hail that was looking like was being detected in parts of Greenbrier County earlier. But if you look here, we have nothing that suggests any debris is occurring with this storm. And that's how we use our debris detector to be able to let you guys know what we're seeing out there in terms of the potential for a tornado from that kind of a physical standpoint. Now we take a look at our barren triple threat. Where you see the purple, that's where we're talking about the potential for some small hail. I don't really think this is too big of an issue at this point. Not really seeing a hail signature with this. But some very heavy rain to go along with that. In fact, we will scan this and kind of probe this for a moment, and you'll see that we're talking about 2-inch per hour rain rates. So this is enough to fill the creeks up for a quick second. Of course, it's been bone dry. But 2-inch rain per hour over about 20 minutes, doing some mental math, that's about 2/3 of an inch of rain. And so as that continues to move on in toward Hillsboro, at a minimum, you'll see some heavy rain, some strong wind gusts. And at the worst, we could have a tornado, hence why the tornado warning has been issued. So let's switch back to the radar, and we'll keep toggling between the radar and the velocity, trying to see another inflow notch showing up. We call this a bounded weak echo region. There's a bunch of fancy terms for this, but basically anytime you see a little notch like this, that is a problem. We don't want to see these notches, so there's a chance that we could have another cycling taking place here, and that's basically how this thing has kind of kept itself going. It's been interacting in this environment over the last couple of hours, and is now in Pocahontas County, our last county in our region. It's going to continue to work its way through our last county, our northernmost county. We are not seeing severe weather elsewhere. We'll take a scan out across the region here in just a moment, but right now we are not seeing severe weather here across anywhere else. It has been this storm that has initialized all of the tornado warnings that we've had here this afternoon, and we are closing in on 2 hours of being on here. And this has been a thunderstorm that has shown repeated signs of strong rotation. Let's take a look at that rotation. And this looks very broad right now. So, yes, in all likelihood, as this is moving its way into Hillsboro, we're probably not seeing anything on the ground, which is good. I would not get out of my safe spot, though, because this thing has been cycling so quickly that it wouldn't take much for that to take place once again. Now, what I want to do here real quickly is we're going to zoom out just for a moment so that we can see some of the other areas that are at least seeing some rain, because let's give some other areas some love. Of course, we want to continue to focus on that tornado warning, but while that thing is seemingly cycling, or at least weakening temporarily, we'll take a look a little wider at what's going on in terms of rain here throughout the area. So you can obviously see the tornado warning. I'm going to take that off here for just a second. So you can see the warning, but don't see any other information. And that tornado warning goes for another 6 minutes. So the National Weather Service is going to have a decision to make here momentarily. They are the entities that issue the tornado warnings. And that will be a decision they'll have to make as far as whether they see enough rotation to see that continuing. So we look, though, elsewhere across the region right now, and we do have more rain working its way into the area. So we see some yellows, some dark greens. And this rain is working its way up to the north. This is basically about the time to be given the weather forecast anyway, so I thought it might be prevalent to give a weather forecast, or at least somewhat of one, talking about what's going on right now. You see the yellows and the oranges. This is moving over areas that have already seen some heavy rain. We've kind of seen some training taking place. And you see the flashing polygons down across parts of Tennessee. That is where we do have some flash flood warnings. And this conveyor belt of rain just continues to work its way up into the area. And this thunderstorm, this tornado, has been interacting in an environment that hasn't seen much in the way of rain this afternoon. In fact, it's been one of those situations where it's just kind of running in its own environment here at this point. And so that's why we've been on here. Notice that we do have a flash flood warning for eastern parts of Raleigh County. That does go until 7 o'clock. I would not be shocked, though, if they allow that to wrap up early, because rainfall totals have not been that impressive in those spots. In fact, what we're going to do is show the 24-hour rainfall totals. And I'm going to pause this so we can see the tornado warning but not see it travel. So there's a tornado warning until 6:15. But we'll take a look real quickly at some of the rainfall totals here throughout the region. And as we do so, you'll see that parts of McDowell County have seen a lot of rain. And so we don't really need a ton more rain right now. Let's see, we're looking at some areas that have seen about 3.5 inches of rain in a relatively short amount of time. We're talking about 24 hours. So where you see the yellows, that's where we've seen 2 inches of rain. And that's why that flash flood warning was issued. It was raining very heavily out toward the Abraham area. You ever go out toward Glade Creek, for example, over toward the campground there along the New River? That is an area that was seeing a lot of rain earlier, and again, that is an area that thankfully is not seeing a lot of rain right now. So we'll likely see that be taken down here shortly, or not extended. And again, we haven't gotten any reports of flooding either. But some widespread 2-inch totals across Wyoming County, at least from estimations. And where you see the oranges, that's where we've seen about 3.5, close to 4 inches of rain already. Now, granted, this is radar indicated rainfall totals, and we don't have any rain gauges that I'm aware of down in that part of the county, but definitely some heavy rain that has taken place. And we do have more rain that's going to be in store here as we work our way into the next bid. In fact, what I'm going to do here is we're going to toggle back to the tornado warning, and we'll load predictor up here in just a bit so that we can see that. But basically what we'll do here at this point, we'll close this out, and we'll take a look at the latest here with our tornado warning, which is currently draped across southern parts of Pocahontas County. So this is the last county in our region. Of course, we'll go up into a different area up toward WBOY once it gets up into Randolph County, if it were to be able to make that way, or up toward Pendleton County, for example. But we continue to watch this storm, which has been exhibiting some mid-level rotation still yet. We'll zoom back in with the latest. And yeah, this is moving pretty close by to the Hillsborough area. There is that rotation in question right here. This is not looking overly pronounced right now. This is some pretty broad rotation that we were seeing here at 6:12. The reason that I mentioned the time is because this warning is about to expire. It's going to expire at 6:15. So it will be interesting to see what the National Weather Service out in Charleston does. They are the ones that are responsible for issuing the warnings over in Pocahontas County. It is the National Weather Service office over in Blacksburg that is responsible for issuing tornado warnings in Greenbrier County, which was the last county that we saw. But there is at least some rotation showing up here, but this is looking much broader in context than what we were looking at a short while ago. So that is not a bad thing at all. Oh, and we do have a new tornado warning that just got issued. So we have a new tornado warning. We're going to zoom back out here. We'll get the new information delivered to you. And you can kind of see the hooking notation with this tornado warning that is now with this storm. So this now includes Marlinton. So if you are in Marlinton, you need to get into your safe spot here. We're loading up the new information right now, and we'll take a look. We have a tornado warning that has been issued, and we'll get that information out to you momentarily. Just loading it up here. Tornado warning issued until 6:45. So we're going to be on here for a bit longer. And it's 6:12 p.m., so 2 minutes ago. Severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 7 miles southwest of Marlinton, still moving to the north and east at about 25 miles per hour. So we're still continuing to see that This is a radar-indicated rotation. This is going to be near the Marlinton and Buckeye areas pretty soon, as well as out toward the Cranberry Mountain Nature Center. So please, if you are in these areas along Route 219 up toward about Marlinton, you're going to want to get into your safe spot. This is a tornado warning that's been issued. This is yet another tornado warning on top of several others that we have had issued. So again, we will continue to have this thunderstorm working its way off to the north and to the east. This is a tornado warning until 6:45 this evening. We put this into motion. This thunderstorm has been working off to the north and to the east rather quickly here at about 25 miles an hour. And it will approach the Marlinton area in short order, not too long from now. So again, just something to keep in mind here, that we still have a thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado. Now, as far as the rotation is concerned, I'm loading up some other data here. That's why I'm not on the screen currently. We still see this rotation quite prevalent across northeastern Greenbrier County, not as pronounced right now, in my opinion, across south central Pocahontas County. This is a bit more broad in nature, but I think out of a realm of precaution, and I don't blame them one bit the way this thing has been cycling, the National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a new tornado warning. We'll zoom back in. This includes the Huntersville area, Marlinton, just about to Minnehaha Springs, which is probably my favorite town to say on air, not going to lie, so I'm glad I get to say that, but unfortunately not in the right context, as we still have this thunderstorm that is capable of producing a tornado in Marlinton, as well as over toward Buckeye, Mill Point, Hillsboro, and Raintown. So these areas are going to be spots that you're going to want to get into your safe spot in, as we are continuing to watch for the potential for a tornado. Now, as far as the impacts outside of this area, we do not have that many of them, and that's good. So again, some other spots have certainly not seen severe weather, and we're not expecting to see a lot of severe weather here for today. In fact, a lot of us are going to be just fine in terms of severe weather. We'll be keeping an eye more on the risk for heavy rainfall because of the setup that is in place here across the region. We've been seeing a lot of rain this afternoon, some of which has produced some heavy rainfall. And that threat is going to continue here as we head into tonight. And we'll show you that here in just a moment. But again, showing the rotation with this thunderstorm while I get a couple of things finalized here. We've been on, in case you're just now tuning in, we've been on for just almost 2 hours talking about this thunderstorm that has been consistently rotating. It has been very persistent in recycling itself, and and we're seeing more lightning along with that as it continues its way up to the north and to the west. So I'm going to head back on the screen here momentarily, and we'll show you what's going on elsewhere here across the region. If we could we switch back over to links 2? That would be great. So we could kind of take a little broader scope, kind of deliver what we're expecting here as we head into the overnight hours. Again, we've had this tornado warning. We look at what's going on across the region. It's mainly just rain that's moving its way back into the region behind this severe weather. So again, it's going to be a wet evening. Be careful out on the roads here tonight if you do plan on doing any traveling, both tonight and into tomorrow, as we will be looking at the risk for some very wet roads and some leaves coming down. We look at the severe outlook for today. It was a marginal risk, still is, a level 1 out of 5 risk. This is primarily held to our far eastern counties now because it's raining everywhere else. We're seeing the rain, the plume of moisture working its way back into the area. And we take a look at the setup. That is a conveyor belt, if I've ever seen one, of rain. And it is heavy at times, especially over the western Carolinas. There's some spots in the western Carolinas that could see 10 to 15 inches of rain. And this continues to head on up to the north and to the east. So again, that'll be something that we're going to be talking about for quite some time, that we're going to have rain showers continuing to be an issue. And then we have, of course, this troublemaker right here, which is Helene, which is now up to 85 miles an hour. The center of that storm is up by just to the north of Cancun. I need to adjust that map a little bit, but you can still see it. It's right in here and is strengthening. And Helene is going to be working its way up toward our region. Could be a Category 4 hurricane, be a Category 3 or Category 4 hurricane as it works its way on up toward us, but it's going to curve back to the left and likely stall as it interacts with an upper level low. What does that mean for us? Well, we're going to be looking at some rain showers Friday. I really don't think we're going to see a ton of rain on Friday. The bigger concern Friday is the risk for some strong wind gusts. You combine that with how saturated things are going to be because of all the rain that has fallen, and we're looking at the potential for a few power outages. And meteorologist Bradley Wells came up with a great graphic. We'll show you that later on tonight at 10 o'clock, talking about why drought and heavy rain do not mix very well. It has a lot to do with soil compaction, and that's going to be an issue that we could be seeing here as we head toward tonight. Let's look at predictor, and as we do so, the severe weather is out of the way, but man, that is just a wall of rain that's going to be working its way through. This is not going to be fun driving weather at all, folks. So again, practice some patience. I'm not out there to try and give people a hard time. Those semis were driving pretty fast on the turnpike on the way into work today. Just give them space and give yourself some extra time. Make sure you're giving yourself plenty of distance between you and the driver in front of you. If you're like me, you're about due probably for a tire change. Those tires don't break that well, don't slow down that quickly. You combine that with the leaves, the rain on the roads, it's even slower braking times as far as how long it takes to stop your vehicle. So let's try to think about this clearly here as we head through the overnight hours, because that is a lot of rain here between now and about 2 o'clock in the morning. Once we get toward that time frame, we'll start to see things begin to improve, and it's kind of a scattered rain activity for Thursday. There's going to be a lot of dry time Thursday, perhaps even a peak or two of sunshine that we'll be expecting. And as we head into the night, that's when the remnants of Helene, which very well could still be a tropical storm as it moves in, will start to work their way into the area here Thursday night into Friday. And that's where you see the yellows and oranges. Notice how scattered, though, the showers are. This is not going to be the steady rains that we've seen in spots today, although it could be heavy at times. More importantly, look at these wind streamers. We're talking about some gusts that could exceed 40 miles per hour here Friday late morning into the afternoon before beginning to relax a bit as we head into the evening hours. So this is going to be a situation where we could be talking about a few scattered power outages. And we look at our 10-day forecast, temperatures will be in the low 70s Thursday and Friday, mid-70s on Saturday. We kind of dry out for a day before more chances for showers return Sunday into Monday, and then those temperatures will be back into the mid-70s. So it's kind of a stretch of weather ahead that's going to be around as far as the unsettled pattern for the next several days. Now, the one thing to keep in mind, though, is once we get into next week, in all likelihood, we're going to see yet another dry pattern begin to emerge. So as long as we don't see any flooding this week, it's not a bad thing that we are going to be seeing decent amounts of rain, because we will have another period of dry weather work its way into the area. Okay, I want to go ahead and let's hop back up on Links 1 if we can. We're going to show the latest with this thunderstorm that's in Pocahontas County. We still have a tornado warning ongoing. We took a quick break from that for anybody that may have been wanting to see their weathercast here during the 6 o'clock show. Of course, normally we'd have 59 News at 6 on, and instead we have a tornado warning. We've had a series of them over the last couple of hours now. And this is the issue here. This thunderstorm right here, right nearby Hillsboro, there along Route 219, and that continues to head on up to the north and to the east. This is going to be heading its way, kind of paralleling 219, if you will, and showing a lot of signs of weakening, at least at the moment here. So that's not a bad thing. We'll pause this for a moment and take a look at the velocity signatures. Yeah, this is all still pretty broad stuff, at least at this juncture. We've got about another 20 minutes or so with this tornado warning. So if we do see any new activity that may warrant yet a further warning farther up to the north and east. But we're about halfway through Pocahontas County here at this juncture. We're just mowing through these counties with this tornado warning. We've had several of them now. I'm not exactly sure how many, but it's been quite a few. For those of you that have been tuning in, you know what I'm talking about. And this continues to head off to the north and east. Marlinton, you need to get into your safe spot. We'll zoom back in here to this area. The worst of the rotation looks like it's going to stay just off to your west. It's over toward the Raintown area. So this is the area of concern. We'll circle this. Near Raintown, not too far from the Mill Point area. This is some broad rotation showing up on the Blacksburg radar. We'll see how that looks over on the Charleston radar. let's see if we can get that to pop up. Yeah, this is pretty broad looking here at this point, but still we're seeing that tornado warning continuing. This is the area of concern right over the Raintown region. This is heading off to the north and to the east. So this is going to make a very close call with Marlinton as this thing continues to parallel along Route 219 along the Scenic Highway. So again, if you're in Marlinton and you're working, you happen to be catching this information, just stay put for another 20, 25 minutes. This thing will be in the clear here in just a bit, and then you'll be in good shape. But this thunderstorm has continued to show signs of rotation. It's continued to show the potential for a tornado to be on the ground. I was going to step off screen here just for a moment to see if we've had any new information or reports that have come in, and to see what we've got going on as far as what's being said over. Let's see. I don't see any new information that has come in from what I can tell. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything new, so I was just checking to see if we had any reports of any damage or anything like that, but no, that is not the case just yet. So this will likely be an after the effect. This is in some pretty rural areas outside of when it does start to move in along toward the Marlinton area. That little donut hole, once again, though, in the reflectivity is a little concerning once again. We're seeing that beginning to pop back up, so perhaps this thunderstorm will yet again is trying to recycle itself just to the west of the Buckeye region. And as we look at the velocity, yeah, that is a little bit on the tighter side than what we were seeing just a short moment ago. So again, we've been kind of going back and forth between our velocity product and our reflectivity products, especially because these are some things that we can use as far as being able to see this storm. So we can take a look here and point this out to about 25 miles an hour. And as we do so, you'll see some towns that'll pop up. That does include the Beard Heights area, Stillwell, Marlinton at 643. West Union at 644, Campbellstown at 645, Brownsburg, another unincorporated town there along Route 219, 649, Knapp at 649, Thorny Creek by 652. That would be with this storm that continues to head off to the north and to the east. We'll pop the reflectivity back up here. And yeah, this thing's still showing some signs that it could be trying to recycle once again. So again, we're going to be hanging on here for a little while longer. This has been a bit of an extended cast here as far as tracking this storm here for you. But the area of concern right now is right where we see this little notch, right in here. That is the spot that we're keeping a close eye on. We call this the bounded weak echo region. We also have a rear inflow notch on the backside. These are just some fancy terms to show you that we do have a lot of structure with this thunderstorm as it continues to scoot off to the north and east. And we can discern these things even at the scan of the height in the atmosphere that we're looking at this storm because it is so far away from either the Blacksburg or the Charleston radar. So